I realized, shit, damn, I'm a psychic medium. I'm Priestess Carmelle, and this is how I became a priestess. I have been super sensitive my entire life. I would feel everything. I've always been a really deep spiritual person. I always was seeking some sort of further understanding and knowledge of what's going on, why am I here, what am I doing. That led me to my beloved teacher, Miss Blue, that is the Oracle Blue, who I am so grateful to and for, who I have learned so much from. If you guys don't know who Miss Blue is, she is an amazing psychic medium. She had seen some of my artwork, and then she was like, she could see me doing the images for this oracle deck that she was going to do, and that ended up being the Kim deck. So I did the 44 images for her Kim deck. She literally like gave me just words and said, just do whatever comes to you. And it was interesting because at the first I was like, hold on, no guidance, like what do you want me to draw? And that was when I really realized that I had the ability to channel. It taught me a lot about my ability to perceive and to allow things to come through. That led me to doing her first priestesshood. So she did a priestesshood school, and we were the first babies to go through it. So what was the priestesshood like? Miss Blue was basically teaching us how to read energy. So I really got to learn the difference between thoughts that were in my mind, things that were coming from the earth, psychic impressions that were coming at me. It was a pathway that was activating different things in me, activating the priestess in me. So yes, so in a nutshell, I went through a priestesshood. I was nurtured and I was guided with a grand high priestess, Miss Blue, the soulful oracle. And I graduated that priestesshood, which deems me a priestess. So I've been an artist since I was a little girl. A lot of you know me for my costume making. I do that as well. I'm quite a multifaceted artist. I was a divine masquerade designer for Notting Hill Carnival. During that time, I really challenged myself to create pieces that would allow the masquerader to step into this awesome experience of themselves. And in that work, I did a lot of channeling. Any of you who were privileged to wear my costumes while I was in service will remember I had like some really deep names. I did Mami Wata, I did Inanna, the goddess Inanna. And even though my costumes were still very typical, like pretty mask costumes, when I was creating those pieces, like when I created Goddess Inanna was literally working with me. I literally would sit and channel the energy of these goddesses or the form. I did a costume on the Maroons. I got into maroon warrior energy. Like whatever the costume was, I would channel that energy and I would pull it into my design. The energy and the spirit was in them. And a lot of you who wore my costumes in those days can attest to how it made you feel. It was more than a costume. It was an experience that they had on this day that would renew their aura and really help them to release pent up energy. It was a truly blessed, an amazing time that I give divine thanks for every day. I learned a lot about myself, a lot about my priestess abilities, my ability to channel information, and my awareness, my psychic awareness of things. Then that would lead me to a really dark period of my life. I went through what a lot of us in the spiritual community would call a dark night of the soul. A phase where you've gone into really challenging, soul purging stuff. A really, really difficult cycle. It was rough. You are blessed to have me before you right now, because when I went through my dark night, I almost didn't come out. I had some major cataclysmic events, bereavements, insane spiritual warfare in the family bloodline. Around the time that this was starting, I was going through an immense ascension process. Like I literally was just going from, I know little spiritual stuff, I can perceive, I can channel, to poof, bitch, I can hear my ancestors speaking to me. I can see them. I can hear my spirit guides. And that process took place like overnight. I had a beloved brother who was very dear to my heart. He's a soulmate who we have been traveling together. So when he died an unexplained death, I literally ran to the ends of the earth to find him in the spirit realm and began communicating with him. And at the time I didn't realize grief was driving me, but it very quickly opened up. I realized I could feel him. I could see him sitting at the end of my bed. I could feel him hugging me. And the more and more I delved into that, I realized, shit, damn, I'm a psychic medium. During my time in the priestesshood and all the time leading up to that time, I had no awareness that I had connection to the other side like that. I was a spiritual girl. I was in tune. I could channel, I could, but I never looked at Miss Blue and thought, oh, I can do what Miss Blue can do. I never thought that, Miss Blue, if you're hearing this. I didn't think that. I did not think that. So this all came as a huge surprise. I literally blew open all the areas of my perception and to find a way to communicate with him. And I would say after a few months of doing that with him, and he was with me 24/7. After a few months of doing that with him, I could have fluent conversations with him. We literally started to have a relationship with him on the other side. If there could be like a documentary about what happened to me at that period of my life, I would call it like Love on the Other Side. We literally were having a relationship, but he was on the other side. I do not recommend you do this, by the way, folks. Okay? A lot of horrible things happened to me after that. When I go back to it, I'm like, it was a mistake. Right? But I didn't know what I was doing. I could communicate more with my ancestors, and I became aware of so many different things spiritually. But the downside was that I was very ungrounded and I was unprotected, and I became incredibly exposed to the darkness, to the dark side, to lower angelic forces on this planet, to entities, and how a lot of them choose to survive is by attaching themselves to people. If they can get into somebody's auric field, if they can feed off their energy, or even if you just slip into some sort of depression and you're in a low mood, those are the energies that come around you, and because they like that frequency, and they'll hang out around there and they'll increase your depression, increase the energy around you that creates that vibe. Awareness for those of us who are light workers, who've come to do immense work, light work on this planet. The forces that be that don't want to see this enlightenment raise up on the planet, don't want to see people living their best life and doing the work that they've come to do, that lower angelic presence, whatever you want to call it, those forces know who we are. They know who us light workers are, because they can see our light. And their job in this matrix is to stop us doing that work. And they will find ways to stop you from doing that work. I've had this conversation before when I was talking about spiritual attachments. I talk about the darkness, the dark side. I was forced into a situation where I had to pay attention to it because it was paying attention to me and railroading my life. And so I literally had to wake up immediately and be like, okay, it's not all butterflies and rainbows out here and fairy, which was where I was hanging out before, not realizing that there were a lot of forces that were greatly affecting my life and my family's life. One of the greatest ways that they can stop you from doing your work is to attack you through your bloodline. If you have a family structure where you've got trauma and wars going, internal wars, this one I like this one, and this one I look down upon this one, and this one I jealous and envious of this one, and all them kind of something that are going on your bloodline, yeah, right? And you've come here to do some light work. Prepare yourself, because they will very easily work through those forms, because all you need is a little piece of bad mind, right, for entity to find its home. Okay, I have really experienced the thrust of that, but through that, in order for me to survive that, I had to dig even deeper dig into my spiritual practice, into my connection with the Most High, into my connection with my galactic team, my spirit guides, my ancestors. I had to go in all of that to survive that, and to survive the level of bereavement that I went through. I lost my mother, who was my best friend, and my grandmother, God bless her soul, who taught me a lot of my basis of my spirituality through her connection with God, her undying, daily, pouring connection with God, which I give thanks I have inherited from her. I have learnt so much from these two amazing women. These two amazing women are the pillars on which I stand on. I give thanks for them. My mother was a powerful woman, immensely conscious and aware, and also super sensitive like me. I learned very quickly that a lot of this, some may call it gifts, that we all have these abilities. There was a tuning to it that was running through my bloodline. My mother had it, my grandmother had it, my great-grandmother had it. It goes through the feminine bloodline in my family. So this is why I talk so much about ancestors, because really, if I wasn't able to hear and perceive my ancestors in the way that I have, I would not be able to do a lot of what I would not have survived. A lot of what I would call the attempts on my life that I survived without them. If I wasn't able to hear my spirit guides, if I wasn't able to get guidance and tune into the divine creator, to source God in the way that I do. So this is really to answer a lot of those questions. Why do I call myself a priestess? I went through a priestesshood. What do? I channel. I can speak to those on the other side. I speak to my mother all the time, daily. I can communicate with my spirit guides, my galactic team. I hope that has answered a lot of your questions today. I hope you've gained greater understanding. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more work with you guys. I have so much to share, and I'm literally in the process of trying to filter that all out and get that all to you. So I want to talk a lot more about why it's important to work with your ancestors, how they help me survive, what I mean by your galactic team, your spiritual team. Every single one of you have a team who are here to help you stay focused on your goal and get you to the winning points, to get you where you need to go. And when we are not connected to that team, when we are not aware, it's a difficult life. So yeah, I have a lot more to share. I also am looking forward to sharing with you a lot of the messages that I get from my mother, who I'm extremely close with. She's on the other side. She tells me a lot about the ancestral realm, the different realms, how they work all together, how your team works with your ancestors and your spirit guides and your deities and the angels, and all of that. She tells me how all the different realms work and what it's like in the ancestral realm. Like she's told me so much about what it's like in the ancestral realm that every day I'm like, what? But I've learned so much from her. And I think we're at the space now where I'm ready to start sharing with the world all this amazing stuff that I'm learning from my mother on the other side through my channeling as a psychic medium. So, and lots more juicy stuff to come. But yeah, I'm Priestess Carmelle, and this is how I became a priestess.